The billionaire smiled before the waitress even reached the table. It was not a warm smile. It was the kind that came from knowing you had power, money, and an audience, and someone in front of you who had none of those things. He leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and placed his order in fluent German, his voice deliberately fast, deliberately sharp, watching her face closely. The waitress paused for half a second. Then she answered him, in perfect German. And the room changed. Her name was Sofia. She was 26 years old, worked double shifts, and slept 4 hours a night in a rented room that smelled faintly of old books and boiled rice. Her uniform was always clean, her hair always tied back, her smile always polite, but behind it lived a quiet exhaustion that no one ever noticed. She had learned long ago that people like him didn't see women like her. Especially not when they wore aprons. The man across the table was Marcus Reinhardt, a self-made billionaire whose fortune came from logistics, ports, and moving things faster than anyone else. He was used to rooms bending slightly when he entered them, used to being listened to, used to testing people just to remind himself he could. His dinner companions laughed softly when he ordered in German. "Let's see if she panics," one of them whispered. Sofia didn't panic. She wrote the order down calmly, her pen steady, her expression unchanged. "Would you like the veal medium or medium rare?" she asked, in German. Marcus's smile froze. "What?" he said, switching instinctively to English. She looked up at him gently. "Medium or medium rare, sir." The table went quiet. One of the men cleared his throat. Another looked down at his glass. Marcus felt something unfamiliar crawl up his neck. "You speak German?" he asked, slowly now. "Yes," Sofia replied, "among others." He laughed, but it sounded forced. "Impressive. For a waitress." The words landed where he intended them to. Sofia felt it, the old sting, the reminder of where the world thought she belonged. She nodded politely. "I'll put the order in." As she walked away, Marcus watched her back longer than necessary. Something about her calm irritated him. Something about her eyes unsettled him. "She thinks she's clever," one of the men muttered. Marcus took a sip of wine. "Let's see how clever." When Sofia returned with the drinks, Marcus didn't look at her. He spoke again in German, this time deliberately mocking, deliberately cruel. "People like her always pretend." Maybe she memorized a few phrases. Sofia placed the glass down carefully. Then she answered, in French. "Would you like more time with the menu, sir?" The men stared. Marcus's eyebrows lifted. "French too?" She nodded. "Yes." He leaned forward slightly. "What else?" Sofia met his eyes now. Not with pride, not with anger, just truth. Spanish, Italian, Arabic, Russian, and English. 7 languages. Silence spread across the table like spilled wine. Marcus laughed again, louder this time. "And here you are, carrying plates." Sofia didn't respond immediately. She had learned when silence was stronger than defense. "I'll give you a moment," she said quietly, and walked away. That night, she cried in the storage room. Not loudly, not dramatically, just tears sliding down while she counted napkins and reminded herself why she was here. Because degrees didn't pay rent. Because translators were replaceable. Because survival didn't care how many languages you spoke. She wiped her face before returning to the floor. Marcus noticed her red eyes. He said nothing, but something had shifted. Over the next weeks, Marcus came back. Always the same table, always watching, sometimes ordering in German, sometimes in Italian, once in broken Arabic, incorrect on purpose. Each time, Sofia answered flawlessly, but never with arrogance, never with revenge, just quiet professionalism. One evening, when the restaurant was almost empty, Marcus finally asked, "Why?" Sofia paused. "Why what? Why are you here?" She hesitated, then told him the truth. "My parents were refugees," she said. "They taught me languages so I could survive anywhere. My mother died cleaning offices. My father drives trucks at night. This job pays rent." Marcus looked away. He had spent millions on ego games. On humiliations disguised as jokes. He had never once asked why. A week later, Sofia didn't come to work. Then another. Then another. Marcus asked the manager, "Where is she?" The manager sighed. "Hospital. Father had a stroke." She quit to take care of him. Marcus went very still. For the first time in years, his money felt useless. He found the hospital. Found the room. Sofia looked up, shocked. "You shouldn't be here," she said quietly. "I know," Marcus replied. "But I am." They sat in silence. Machines beeped softly. "I laughed at you," he said. Because I thought power meant standing above people. She said nothing. I was wrong. Her eyes filled with tears she hadn't allowed herself in days. He placed an envelope on the table. I need someone who understands the world, he said. And I need to learn how to listen. Sofia didn't answer immediately, because healing didn't happen instantly. But something began there, not because she spoke 7 languages, but because she never used them to hurt. Sofia didn't touch the envelope. It sat there between them like a question neither of them knew how to ask properly. I didn't come here for money, she said finally, her voice low so it wouldn't wake her father. If that's why you're here, you should leave. Marcus nodded slowly. I know. That's why I brought it anyway. She looked at him then. Really looked. Not the billionaire. Not the man who laughed at her. Just a tired face, lines around the eyes that came from years of winning arguments instead of understanding people. My father doesn't like charity, Sofia said. Neither do I, Marcus replied. This isn't that. What is it? A door, he said. You can decide whether to open it. She exhaled shakily. You humiliated me. I did, he said. No excuses. No smile. And I think about it more than you know. Silence stretched. A nurse walked past the door. Somewhere down the corridor, someone was crying. My mother used to say languages are bridges, Sofia said softly. But bridges only matter if someone wants to cross. Marcus swallowed. I want to. She didn't answer right away. Because trust didn't return just because someone apologized. Because pain didn't vanish because someone powerful felt guilty. Days passed. Sofia slept on a chair beside her father's bed. She translated forms for nurses. She argued with insurance companies in languages they didn't expect from a tired young woman with dark circles under her eyes. Marcus sent no messages. Didn't call. Didn't push. That surprised her more than anything else. When her father finally opened his eyes fully, weak but alive, Sofia cried into his blanket like she was 10 years old again. Tzadis, he whispered. Are you here? Yes, Papa, she said in Russian, pressing her forehead to his hand. I'm here. 2 weeks later, Marcus showed up again. Not in a suit, not with an assistant, just a plain coat and tired eyes. I brought soup, he said awkwardly. The nurse said hospital food is difficult. Sofia almost laughed. Almost. They ate quietly in the small visitor's room. Why me? She asked suddenly. Marcus set the spoon down. Because you didn't fight back. She frowned. That's a strange reason. You could have humiliated me, he said. In front of everyone. You had the weapons. Languages, she said. Yes. But you didn't. She shrugged. I'm tired of proving things. That answer stayed with him. When her father was discharged, Marcus arranged physical therapy without making it feel like charity. Paperwork, connections, quiet help. Still, Sofia kept her distance. Until one evening, when exhaustion finally broke her. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at nothing, chest tight, breath shallow. The fear came out of nowhere, the old one. The one that said she would never escape survival mode. That everything she knew would always disappear. Her phone buzzed. A single message. Are you okay? She stared at it for a long time. Then typed. No. He arrived within 30 minutes. Didn't touch her. Didn't talk at first. Just sat on the floor across from her, back against the wall, matching her silence. I don't know how to stop being afraid, she said eventually, tears slipping down unchecked. Every time something gets better, I wait for it to end. Marcus nodded. I spent my whole life building things so I wouldn't have to feel that. Did it work? No. She laughed weakly through tears. Good. I mean, sorry. It's okay, he said. I deserve the joke. Something shifted then. Not romance. Not rescue. Just 2 broken places recognizing each other. Weeks turned into months. Sofia began helping Marcus with international negotiations, informally at first. Sitting in the corner. Listening. Translating not just words, but tone. Intention. Respect. People noticed. Not because she demanded attention, but because rooms felt calmer when she spoke. One executive scoffed once. She's just a waitress. Marcus didn't raise his voice. She's the reason this deal will work. Sofia felt her throat tighten. Not from pride, from being seen without being used. One night, after a long meeting, she broke down in the elevator. I'm scared, she whispered, forehead against the cold metal wall. What if I fail? What if they realize I don't belong? Marcus stood beside her, not touching. I built an empire on pretending I belonged everywhere. Trust me, you belong more than most. She turned to him. You laughed at me. I know, he said. And I will carry that. Tears streamed freely now. Why didn't you just walk away after that night? Because you looked at me like I was small, he said quietly. And no one had ever done that without hatred. Months later, Sofia stood at a podium. No apron, no borrowed confidence. Her father sat in the front row, walking with a cane, eyes shining. She spoke in 7 languages that night. Not to show off, but to welcome. When the applause came, she closed her eyes. Not because she needed it, but because she finally wasn't afraid of losing it. Marcus watched from the side, hands clasped, heart heavy and full at once. He hadn't ordered in German to laugh again. He hadn't laughed at all. Because some lessons don't come from being smarter. They come from being quiet long enough to hear someone else's voice. The applause faded, but the silence that followed stayed with Sofia longer. It followed her backstage, into the quiet hallway where the carpet muted footsteps and the walls held the echoes of many confident voices that had once sounded like they belonged to other people. Her hands were still trembling. Not from fear this time, but from the strange weight of being fully present. Marcus waited near the exit. Not too close. He had learned that distance could be a form of respect. You did well, he said. Sofia nodded, swallowing. I kept thinking I'd forget everything. You didn't. No, she said softly. I remembered too much. They walked out into the night together. The city felt different after moments like that, less loud, more honest. Her father was taken home by a driver Marcus had sent, one who knew better than to ask questions. They stood on the sidewalk for a while. I need to say something, Sofia said suddenly. And it won't be comfortable. Marcus nodded. Go on. You didn't save me, she said. And I don't want people thinking that. Relief crossed his face. Good. Because that would be a lie. You opened a door, she continued. But I walked through it alone. On nights when I wanted to quit. When my father cried in his sleep. When I felt small again. I know, Marcus said quietly. That's why I respect you. The word respect settled between them, heavier than affection, steadier than admiration. But life doesn't pause to admire growth. 3 months later, the deal Sofia had helped secure collapsed overnight. A political shift. A sudden regulation, millions lost in hours. The boardroom turned cold, voices sharpened. Blame looked for a place to land. One man spoke what others were thinking. Maybe relying on an untested consultant wasn't wise. Toggle. Sofia felt it instantly, the familiar tightening in her chest. The old reflex to disappear. Marcus didn't interrupt. That hurt more than if he had shouted. I warned you, another executive added. She doesn't have the background. Sofia stood slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her voice didn't. I won't defend myself, she said. Not because I'm guilty, but because this failure isn't mine alone. And if you need someone to blame, I'm used to that. She looked at Marcus then. Not accusing, just honest. I won't stay where I'm convenient only when things go right. The room was silent. Marcus finally spoke. She's right. Heads turned. This loss came from decisions made long before she entered the room, he said. If anyone leaves, it won't be her. One man scoffed. You're choosing her over us. Marcus didn't hesitate. I'm choosing accountability. Sofia walked out before the discussion continued. She didn't wait for Marcus. She went home and cried harder than she had in years. Because growth hurt. Because dignity didn't make you immune to rejection. Because part of her had believed, dangerously, that she was past this. She didn't answer her phone for 2 days. On the 3rd night, there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Marcus standing there, rain-soaked, coat heavy with water, eyes raw. I'm not here to fix this, he said immediately. I just didn't want you to be alone. She stepped aside. They sat on the floor again, backs against opposite walls, like the first night they had truly talked. I thought I was stronger now, she whispered. But it still hurts the same. Marcus stared at the ceiling. Strength doesn't mean it stops hurting. It just means you don't let the pain decide who you become. She wiped her face. I hate that you're right. He almost smiled. Weeks passed. The company recovered slowly. Sofia returned, not because she had to, but because she chose to. On new terms, clear boundaries, she started mentoring young staff quietly, translating contracts for interns, helping without making it visible. One evening, a young waitress approached her nervously in the same restaurant where it had all begun. I heard about you, the girl said. They say you speak 7 languages. Sofia smiled gently. Yes. The girl hesitated. Sometimes customers make fun of my accent. Sofia felt something twist softly inside her. She leaned in. Never apologize for surviving. The girl nodded, eyes shining. That night, Sofia walked home alone, and realized she wasn't afraid of that anymore. Months later, Marcus made an announcement. He was stepping back, not retiring, just slowing down. Why? A journalist asked. He thought of a young woman standing calmly under mockery, of soup in a hospital, of silence that healed more than words. Because power isn't loud, he said, and I've been shouting my whole life. Sofia watched from the audience. She didn't clap immediately, she waited. Later, they stood together outside the building, city lights reflecting in the glass. What will you do now? She asked. He shrugged. Learn. Maybe finally. She smiled, not because the story was perfect, but because it was honest. And because somewhere between a cruel joke in German and a quiet apology in the rain, two very different lives had learned the same language. The language of seeing, the kind no one laughs at, the kind you never forget.